The story I will be sharing with us is about Albert Einstein, and I'm pulling from my book, Adapt and Advance. Today, page 45, the first half of page 45. And I referenced a quote there where I said, failure is success in progress. And that's the title for today's video. And I will be talking a little bit about Albert Einstein, of how he used failure as a stepping stone for success for him. And there are two stories I'll be pulling for from the life of Albert Einstein. The first story is he spoke late as a child and was labeled as slow. And thinking about this, we all have labels, whether spoken directly or not spoken directly in our lives. Labels given to us by family members, labels given to us by friends, or even by society, or even by ourselves at times, to give ourselves some negative labels at times. He was given the label as being slow, but he did not allow this judgment to define him in a negative way. This judgment pushed him to think in a different way. So those negative labels that you have, or that you perceive that you have, you could use them in a positive way. How can you use that label that is given to you and turn it around for good? Albert Einstein's family were worried because he did not speak early. I remember checking about him, and I think he didn't speak well until he was 4 years old. This made him to think more in images and patterns, which led to part of the discovery he eventually had in physics about the relativity theory we'll talk about in a little bit. So what we are saying is the story of a man who became successful in science, but family were worried about him because he did not speak at the right time that most children did speak. Einstein was had a fast forward into his future now, working in the midst of what eventually propelled him to be somebody that is well known in physics, was the theory of relativity. When Einstein first introduced relativity, many scientists doubted him. But he patiently decided to refine and defend his work, and he transformed the criticism into validation. So the second point from the second story the point from the second story is about turning criticism into validation. The first one is using negative labels or turning it around to create something that would make you successful in life. Ultimately, it shaped physics in a way that, today we talk about him. And many scientists initially dismissed him. So it's possible, most people might dismiss you or dismiss your thoughts or dismiss what you have to say, but you should not let that define you in a negative way. So those two stories, one from his childhood when he was labeled as slow, and the second one in adulthood in science when he was dismissed or was maybe cancelled or whatever language we're using now, or where he was criticized about his theory. He kept working at it until that theory became something to reckon with today in physics. So don't let negative labels define you, and don't let criticism of others define you. You can turn it around with hard work and with putting the best that you can into the things you believe in and the things that you want. So what's the big content using the story of Albert Einstein to explain failure is success in progress? The big content today and call to action is look into your life and say, is there a label? Is there a negative label somewhere that I need to work on? Is there criticism, maybe an unfair criticism on what I'm doing that I could use to turn around for good, to do what I am called to do? How can I turn what looks like a seeming failure into success? How can whatever failure I'm experiencing right now be progress for me? How can I turn it around? How can failure be success in progress for me? And that's just the call to action for today. And we'll be using the map lamp principle like we always do every time to go through the things that we have learned today. First M in map lamp, which is the principles I used in the book, MAPLAMP. The first M is meaning making. How did Albert Einstein use the principles of meaning making, which I shared in my book in 2025, back then, like multiple years ago? Like the relativity theory was first published in 1905. That's about 100 years ago. how did it use these principles? So for MAPLAMP, for M, which is meaning making, there are two principles Albert Einstein used. Number one, he created something. For example, the relativity theory. What are you creating? What can you create? What are you working on? That can be one way that you can be a blessing to your world. And when we say create something, it doesn't like to be something like relativity theory like Albert Einstein did. But who knows, it might be. And at times when we're creating something, we don't know how far reaching what we are creating, can be. So you can create something to be a blessing to your world. Every time I read reviews from my book on Amazon, some of them I shed tears. People I don't know have been blessed. I've been blessed by reading this book. So I created something. Of course, it took a lot of work, but it's doable. So what is it that you are creating? If you are called to write a book, then write it. If you are called to start a business, then start it. If you are called, to be a doctor or whatever it is, I say things that come to my mouth easily from things that I do regularly, then do it. You can create something to bless your world. The second thing that was meaning making type that Albert Einstein did was, he adopted the right attitude. Also in my book, I talked about adopting the right attitude towards challenges. I thought he adopted the right attitude towards challenges, and that also helped him to move forward. And what was his right attitude? It was labeled slow, but the right attitude was thinking in images and pattern. People might say I'm slow with speaking, but what else do I have that I could use to make up for it? So when you look into your life and you find those labels, you say, like, what else can I use to make up for those labels that people have given me? And the story that readily comes to mind for me was when I failed chemistry at the end of high school. In Nigeria, to go to medical school, you have to pass chemistry. I believe it's so in the US too. And, at that time, one of my cousins who meant well told me, he doesn't think I'm fit for medicine because of that setback. But I told myself, I believe I'm fit for medicine. I took it again, passed it. It's history now. Finished medicine in Nigeria, finished residency in Nigeria, finished residency in the US. The point is, don't let what people say and the labels people put on you define your future. The next one is action. MAPLAMP. M is meaning making. We've talked about two ways Albert Einstein made meaning that you can make right today. Right attitude toward challenges, making or producing something, whatever it is you've been called to do. Number two is A, which is action. You've got to take action. Albert Einstein took action, and you can also take action. And the action I want you to take, like today, after listening or as you are listening, is think about the negative label on your life and how you can use it, turn it around to a success, and or what you can use to make up for that negative label in a way that will make you successful in another area of life. The other thing that we can do for action is criticism, like Albert Einstein. He didn't let the criticism of other scientists, when talking about relativity theory, stop him. He kept moving forward despite it. He kept refining it until he transformed the criticism into validation. So transform the criticism you might be experiencing into validation. How? Not just by talk, but by working on it. What are they criticizing you about? And how can you continue to work on it to make the best of it? I see all criticism, even if it's done with malicious intent, I try my best to turn it to constructive, at least for my own good. So don't let criticism of people, even if they have bad intention, don't let it stop you. Make sure you have a way of turning it for your own mind, turn it into a constructive criticism. Believe they mean good, and then use it. Use it to be the best version of yourself as you're called to be. P is planning, and I try to see how Albert Einstein used planning for his good. And one story I had from him was when he was working in the Swiss patent office. He wanted to work as a teacher where he would have the opportunity to do research, but he couldn't get into such teaching prestigious job at that time. What did he do? He got a job as a Swiss patent office. The story had it that he intentionally structured his life to leave time for research. And that led to the discoveries he made later, which, made him to be in the spotlight. Create time for the things that matter to you. Create time for it. Like, I talked about this book, it took me hours and hours and hours. Days I have to wake up 3 a.m. in the morning to write and stuff like that, despite doing residency at the point when the book was written and published. So you can create time for what matters to you. You can do it in the evening. I've talked about some of my research time during residency was in the evenings, like 6 to 7 p.m. meetings every week with a colleague of mine where we run analysis, where we do all of that. And, it led to, conference sponsorship, led to publications, led to kept my research going on despite the fact that that wasn't the primary thing I was doing. So create time for what matters to you. Albert Einstein did the same when he was working with the Swiss patent office, which was not really what he wanted, but because he couldn't get what he wanted, he created time outside of that job to make sure he did some research. So you have to be very intentional at creating time for the things you have believed will work for you. If you believe you are meant to be a businessman, create time for it, find time for it. If you believe you are called to be a doctor, find time to be one, whatever it is that you are called to be. The next thing is MAPL is learning. I'll always like to show us one book I recommend. This is Atomic Habits, which I've read. It was one of the books that touched my life the most over the last couple of months. I recommend you read if you have not read it. And he shared a story there too, which is very interesting. How he had an injury to his face, bones were damaged, and it took very painfully long time, for him to get over it. But he said with all the little habits which he eventually shared in this book, he got his life back together in shape. So, and that led to writing this book that has sold millions of copies, I believe. So you never know what your challenges can give back to. Think about it. So those things, when he had that injury to his face and his bones were damaged and it took painful, long time for him to get well, he was giving back to a book which blessed his world. So you never know what your challenges can give back to. So see things with that light, that this is going to give back to something good. This is going to give back to something good. This is going to lead to something good. I tell myself, no matter the challenges I'm going through, it's going to lead to something good. Romans 8:28, and we know all things work together for good to them that love God. Then what they call according to his purpose. So learn, read. I read one book every week, and I still do. Most times I listen. So if you don't have time to read, listen. Whatever you can, make sure you are learning something. I'm inspired every day by the books I read all around me. Yeah, I get inspired every day. I don't give up. I'm not tired. I don't give in. I keep moving every day. Then he talked about from the Albert Einstein from the line with mathematicians, astronomers, physicists, and one name I found was Marcel Grossman. I've not had a name before, but of people that he worked with that helped him to succeed. Mission statement. One Albert Einstein mission statement that I found was, my purpose is to live simply, think deeply, question boldly, and act with compassion. So that was his own mission statement. My own mission statement, we have said a million times, is to fulfill God's purpose and be the best version of myself as I move from one level of good success and good value to a greater level of good success and good value per time, and to contribute positively to the life of those that God has placed on my path. One thing I tell my patients every time I work in inpatient psych, whenever I'm discharging a patient, is I always tell them the first phrase or the second phrase of my mission statement is to be the best version of yourself, no matter where you are. No matter how difficult life is, whether you are in the pit, in the prison, or in the palace, be the best version of yourself. Whether life is hard or life is simple or life is easy, whatever phase of life where you are, you can be the best version of yourself. Before you take that next level of drink or things that seem to be ruining your life, ask yourself, am I being the best version of myself? And when you are doing the right things too, am I being the best version of myself? And finally is P, which is prayers, is when I fall, I will rise again, Micah 7:8. So rise again from all falls. And I believe, God, that as you continue to rise, believe in the word, continue to make progress, the best version of yourself is who you will be. I want to encourage you, if you've not had time to get a copy of my book, we have all versions now. And the ebook is just $199. We are still doing the promotion right now. So make sure you get a copy of the $199 book at least. Or if you want the hard copy, I think this one is $16.99 and the soft cover is $11.99, and the audio version is, I think, $19.99. So whatever version works best for you, get it, read it, talk about it, take the steps in it, and be the best version of yourself. Thank you so much for watching this video. Like, share with somebody that it's going to bless. Let's keep moving and see you at the top. Thank you. Bye.